You're listening to the Seahawks Insiders, getting you ready for Seahawks football every Sunday. Presented by Delta, the official airline of the Seahawks. Now, here's your host, Jen Mueller.
It all comes down to this, John Boyle. We are finally here. It is Super Bowl week, and I promise that there was a lot of activity behind us just a few minutes ago. It has been nonstop conversations with the Seahawks. Can we actually talk about the matchup now?
I think so.
Are we okay with that?
It's time for that, yeah.
But
it's a couple days away.
It is a couple of days away. It is what we do. We get you ready for game day on Sunday. Although I will say there have been some kind of fun revelations,
yes.
Things that I have learned this week.
Yes.
Leonard Williams, I love this because I heard this at practice before we left Seattle. Paint it black. So they had the final countdown. So this was like Friday's practice. The final countdown was the first song they played going out to practice. The second one was Paint It Black. And I just thought, man, that feels fitting.
Yeah.
Turns out it's Leonard Williams' pick. It's his song all year, and it's the one that describes the dark side.
Yeah, great song for the dark side.
Did you know that ahead of this weekend?
I knew that that was one of their songs. I didn't know it was the song.
It is the song.
I've heard it in the locker room a couple times.
Okay.
But yeah.
Here's the other thing I learned that I thought was really interesting. I mean, there was a lot of interesting things. Ernest Jones has started collecting Pokemon cards.
Yeah, he was a guy. There's a guy in costume. I forget what character he was because I don't know my Pokemon characters.
I'm not
but
up on that, yeah.
He was going around giving out cards, and he came back to Ernest, and Ernest was like very excited. And yeah.
Yes, I thought it was interesting. He said he started collecting them during a dark time in his life when he was talking about the trades and kind of being unsettled. And he said, I thought this was ridiculous as a kid, but it actually brings me quite a bit of joy as an adult.
Well, that's fun.
So every Friday before game day, he goes and buys a pack of Pokemon cards.
Hope he can find some tomorrow.
I'm sure somebody will volunteer to drive him if needed. What were the fun things that you learned this week?
I mean, more just like seeing how these guys are handling this week. Like they're, especially today after multiple days of this, like they're having so much fun. We've heard the term loose and focused all year long. And like, it could not be more true with this team of like, you got their practice yesterday and they're dialed in as ever, having a great practice, but you watch them doing this, Derek Hall's taking a microphone around and interviewing teammates. They're doing their shadow boxing thing. They're just having a great time. At one point, Cliff Averill rolls in, and he and Jaron Reed are catching up. So it's been fun to see how they're embracing this moment and having a good time.
Yeah, you mentioned practice. I want to get to that in just a second. But somebody asked me earlier today, do you think there's such a thing as being overly confident? Because the outside noise is what I'm going to call it, would say the Seahawks are favored to win on Sunday. And you hear so many people saying things like that. I think I might be the only person that just gets nervous. And I thought about this too late. And I gave the answer. I was like, no, I don't think they're paying attention to what anybody else is saying. They're too busy shadowboxing. Number two, Mike McDonald has said, you earn the right to feel confident about a game.
Yeah.
Have you seen an overconfidence? Have you gotten the feeling that they're actually listening to anything else?
No, not at all. Like they're locked in. They are confident, as you said. Like Mike talked about this earlier. Like they've earned the right to believe they can beat anybody because that's the kind of team they've built. But yeah, they're not. I mean, it's the Super Bowl. They're not going to look at a team that went 14-3 and got this far and be like, oh, we got this. Like they know the Patriots present a lot of challenges, and if they're not as sharp as they've been throughout this, 9-game winning streak they're on, that anybody can in this league can get you if you're not on top of things. So no, they're overconfidence. They're confident, but they're not by any means thinking like, oh, we got this in the bag.
Yeah, I completely agree. And when you take a look at this matchup, I think you kind of tell the story of the game through explosive plays, or at least maybe that's kind of the overarching theme, because some people are going to look at the Patriots schedule and say, well, those opponents weren't as hard as the Seahawks, and those offenses weren't as good, so that's why their defense looks so much better. And John, here's what I would say. You did what you were supposed to do. You beat the team that was on the schedule that you had to play that week.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, look, you can look at their, opponent win percentage and all that and the quarterbacks they face or whatever and say one team had a harder route, but they're here. They did a lot of really good things to get here. They have a lot of weapons on both sides of the ball. We can get into it, but there's a lot of things they do really well. This is not a team that fluked its way to 14 wins in a Super Bowl appearance.
Yep. Yep. So let's go back to that explosive play conversation because truly, when you look at the numbers, they are pretty similar across the board. Offensive and defensive numbers, when you just line them up, and that's what we do. There's 2 columns, and it shows exactly what those yards are, where they rank in the NFL, and these 2 teams are right next to each other. And when it comes to explosive plays, they are also right there. This Super Bowl will feature the best offensive explosive team and the best defense when it comes to limiting explosives. That would be the Seahawks defense. But in general, there was no team in the NFL that had a better explosive play differential than the Seahawks. And that is number of explosives created on offense, number of explosives allowed by the defense.
Yeah, I mean, that's something that you go back to the previous coaching regime, that was a big focus, and it for a good reason. Like, those are the plays that, the numbers back this up. If you have a pass play of X number of yards on any given possession, your chances of scoring will go up. And that's where, I think this Patriots offense is really dangerous, is you have, an MVP caliber quarterback who was statistically one of the best deep ball throwers all year and can get out and run and make plays with his legs, which is a really dangerous combination.
Yeah, there's 2 things on that one. So you already know that Drake May is the best in the NFL at yards per pass attempt. He led the league with 72% completion percentage, and he had the highest passer rating. Here's what else he did. He was the best at deep throws outside the numbers, and only Matthew Stafford completed more deep passes down the sideline. That concerns me because Matthew Stafford was a challenge for this defense, right?
For sure. Yeah. I mean, again, this is a really legit, arguably MVP player, and he's got the ability to really hurt you in a lot of ways. And I do hesitate a little bit. I've heard a lot of the conversation of like, oh, well, the Rams showed that you can get big plays on the Seahawks. It's like, yeah, but they got Stafford and Puka and Sean McVay, and I've yet to see literally any combination besides those 3 do what they've done to the Seahawks. Again, no disrespect to what the Patriots do, but I'm a little hesitant to put anybody in that camp of what the Rams have done.
Agreed. But if you're looking for a comp, or maybe where you need to kind of fix something, I would think you're going to focus a little bit
for sure
on that this week. Here's the other thing that Seattle has allowed, and I don't know how much stock I'm going to put in this, but when it comes to pressure, Drake May has been pressured a lot. He is actually one of the best in yards per play when pressured. Part of that is he can use his legs. The one thing Seattle's defense has not been great at is taking away running yards by the quarterback. So they rank 29th in the league in that. Again, I'm not totally sure that tells the entire story, because sometimes you're willing to do that in a blowout game. You're willing to do that when you're preventing the bigger play deep, and you're still not at...
Yeah, there's definitely been some late game scrambles I can remember where you're like, well, you don't want to give up 20 yards there, but you're up by 21 points and playing a pretty soft coverage, and they ran on you.
But when you look at Drake May's numbers, because you have him called up right here in front of you, I can see everything that he's looking at right now. What are the ones that you have honed in on as you have done your game prep and articles leading up to Sunday?
I mean, it's from the kind of the positive from a Patriots offense. It's what we've just talked about, the big plays. You look at the running, the deep passes, like you said, led the league in yards per completion. If I'm looking for sort of like good news for the Seahawks, it's he takes a lot of sacks and he gets hit a lot. And we know the Seahawks pass rush is really darn good. Been sacked 5 times in each of his playoff games so far, facing some really good defenses, and he's going to face another one. So, again, you don't want to let him get out and get those runs when you rush him, but I think there's going to be real opportunities to affect the quarterback with the Seahawks pass rush, and with that, that's where we see the turnovers come. So they've done a pretty good job over the course of the year taking care of the ball, but I do think this defense could really maybe affect him.
Well, and there's an injury at left tackle that has left them maybe a little less at full strength than they would like. Still playing, and that would be Will Campbell, the rookie, but suffered a knee injury towards the end of the season, and he just hasn't looked the same since he's come back. The offensive line as a whole has allowed a 45.5% pressure rate in the playoffs. And I'm going to also take out the last half of the AFC Championship game in Denver. That is just a mess, right?
You can't read a lot into that.
You're just like, I'm not going to read a whole lot into that. One of the reasons Drake May has taken so many sacks this year is actually his style of kind of holding on to the ball and throwing. So 3.1 seconds to throw. I was just talking to Uchenna about this a little bit ago. John, think about how many quarterbacks they faced that got the ball out quick. I mean, Matthew Stafford 2 weeks ago, right?
Yeah. Phillip Rivers.
Phillip Rivers was another one. 3.1 seconds is an eternity. He is in the bottom 5, right? That is most time to throw. And so those 47 sacks that he's taken, according to PFF, and we can go either way on how accurate the numbers are, 20 of those sacks were a result of holding the ball too long. I like our pressure against a 3.1 time to throw.
I mean, that's sort of a feast or famine style that we saw with, Russell Wilson for years of like, he can kill you with his legs, he can extend plays, and he can chuck it downfield and get these big explosives. But the downside to that is you do take a lot of sacks. And that's where, again, there's this balance of like, you want to keep them from being explosive, but man, your pass rush could have a real opportunity as well.
Yeah. And you are also going to be doing that potentially with a rookie running back on the field in Travion Henderson. And I mention that because you're going to have to be in there on pass pro a few times. Now, he was only on the field for 4 offensive plays against the Broncos and against that defense, but you could have some opportunities against, kind of an alien offensive line on the left side and against the rookie. You are going to have to deal with a running back, though, who has exceptional contact balance and a lot of yards after contact.
I mean, he's a true home run threat, and it's, this defense has faced so many good running backs this year and maintained that streak of no 100-yard rushers, led the NFL in yards per attempt, 3.7 per carry. I like Seattle's run defense against anybody, but with Henderson and Stevenson, like they've got some really good runners who you got to be on it.
Yeah, 3.52 yards after contact. That's Ramondre Stevenson. That is tied with Jonathan Taylor for, I believe, most in the league in that regard. And Ernest Jones was saying, kind of reminds him of Joe Mixon a little bit. And just, you got to make sure that you close in and that you've got to stop him. That has been, I guess, a lot of conversation about the Patriots and their offense up to this point. We're going to flip the matchup when we come back after a word from our presenting sponsor.
Delta Airlines is bringing more big wins to the city of Seattle. With nonstop flights to over 60 destinations worldwide, we're moving Seattle forward with 2 new routes to Rome and Barcelona starting May 2026. And with thoughtfully designed cabins, premium service, a seamless travel experience, and our new Delta One Lounge for eligible travelers, your personal off-season is looking better than ever. Visit delta.com to book your next trip.
Welcome back to a special Seahawks Insiders edition of the podcast. We are in the room where all of the media took place just a few minutes ago. Jen Mueller, John Boyle, and John, I said that we were going to flip the matchup. I actually can't do that. I lied. I can't read all of the papers. I don't know about you, but I take notes on just like pieces of paper. In my hotel room this morning, as I'm getting ready for this, because normally I would print off notes, there are 25 pages scattered everywhere, and nice. I'm trying to... I forgot to ask you about Nick Emmanwori. We cannot look at the Seahawks offense without examining kind of where Nick is. He did talk to the media today. I was not able to go and listen. What have you learned about his status and how he's feeling? Yeah,
so first we heard from Mike McDonald first, and what Mike said is he rolled his ankle, called it a low ankle sprain. He'll do walkthrough today. They didn't flat out say he won't practice, but if you read between the lines, it sounds like they don't know yet. But the plan is, keep him off it some, let him, heal up. But they said, what Mike says, they fully expect him to play. Nick was then asked about it. Same thing. Like he said, he woke up feeling a lot better today than yesterday, and he's fully expecting to go as well. So not ideal. You don't want to roll your ankle Super Bowl week. And I think, the initial, like any player, you feel an injury happen this week of all weeks, you kind of get a little worried. But sounds like all parties involved expect him to be fine and be ready to go on Sunday.
That is a sigh of relief, I think.
Yeah, I mean, he's emerged as, not that this defense can't function without him. They got a lot of great players all over, but man, what he allows them to do with his flexibility, his versatility, being able to stop the run, being able to cover, like he's such a unique player. Having him out there is a real game changer for them.
Okay, we'll count that as good news and continue to monitor that as we get closer to game day. Now, let's talk about the matchup from the other side of this. The Seahawks offense against the Patriots defense. At first blush, I think the playmakers that the Seahawks have had and the way that they have shown up in the last 2 weeks is a good starting point for this conversation.
Yeah.
In K9, JSN, and Sam Darnold.
Yeah. And even beyond them, I mean, we saw Cooper Kupp have big moments. We've seen Rashid Shaheed, big plays. I mean, this offense, I feel like all year long has maybe flown a little under the radar because of how good the defense has been. But when you needed to get past a Rams team that was scoring on you, when you needed that huge offensive day, bunch of guys came through and they did it. So yeah, I think this offense is, what Clint Kubiak has done is maybe not fully appreciated again, just because the defense has been so darn good.
Well, and I think the conversation around Sam Darnold is changing.
Oh, for sure.
What have you heard this week, both in the press conferences and from some of your colleagues around the league, in maybe how their minds have been changed or how they want you to help them change their minds?
It's funny because before this postseason, I think the sort of national narrative, whatever you call it, was like Sam Darnold's had 2 really good seasons, but can he win the big game? Can he come through in these big moments? And he answered that emphatically. It's like no one's coming into this being like, can he perform on a big stage? Like he just threw for 346 and 3 touchdowns in a shootout of an NFC Championship game. So now I think the angle that a lot of the media wants is this like, I think the word yesterday is vindication of like proving all these teams wrong that gave up on you. And that's just not who Sam is. Yeah. He's like, I learned a lot here. I learned this there. Like he's happy to talk about those places. He had good and bad experiences throughout his career. But for him, it's all about just like what he's doing right now with this team, helping lead this team, helping this team win. I think that's why his teammates have so much respect for him. It's like you talked after that NFC Championship game to, Mike McDonald's line was like, he shut a lot of people up tonight. A lot of his teammates talked like that. But the last person talking about that was Sam.
Yeah.
He's just like, I'm happy for my teammates and for these guys that we won this game. So I think all year long, you hear teammates, you hear coaches talk about how even-keeled he is, how steady he is, and that's really coming through this week.
Yeah, I pointed to that same exact thing to a few folks who asked. I'm like, just listen to what his teammates said. That's not an accident, right? Mm-hmm. They didn't just, kind of come up with this off the cuff. When we look at the actual matchup of offense versus the Patriots defense, the run game, I think, is going to be a really important one for Sam.
Tough run D.
It is a tough run defense. Now, K9 has forced a missed tackle. I did not realize this. On over 30% of his combined carries and receptions. Yeah. That's pretty impressive.
Yeah. I mean, I should have it in front of me. He's right up there for like most missed tackles created.
Second in the NFL,
there you
actually.
Go. You have it.
I've got that. Yes,
I've
got that.
I did not come prepared, Jen. I'm glad one of us did.
Well, here's the other thing, though, and you'd like to get a couple of explosive plays in that because we've seen Ken do that. Now, Patriots defense has allowed 1 explosive run in 68 opponent tries in the postseason. No rushing touchdowns.
Yeah, they're very stout up front. They've got really good guys all over that defense. But, I mean, 1, K9's really good at making those explosives happen. 2, I really like, he's a little, I think, underappreciated in the passing game. And we've seen glimpses of that this year with some of the screens. So it's like he's a guy that, even if there's been games where he has like 60 rushing yards, but he's still a huge factor because he pops a couple catches or, makes some guys miss. So, I mean, he's been great all year, but especially down the stretch here. And now they need it more than ever with playing without Zach Charbonnet.
Yes. And when you are going to focus on stopping the run, you could have JSN open downfield, and this could be a really fun matchup.
I hear that guy's pretty good.
I hear he's pretty good. I hear Christian Gonzalez is pretty good.
That is a great matchup.
Interestingly, well, I don't know if it's interestingly. You probably already know this at this point. When you played the Patriots last year, Gonzalez was against DK. They've never gone up against each other. They are from the same part of Texas, the same high school class. They have never played.
And boy, neither of those guys is given bulletin board material. They're like all week, they've been so complimentary of each other, just talk about the respect they have and how good they are. Like, oh, come on, that's boring, guys. But I mean, that's a fun matchup. And as you said last time, because Gonzalez is a guy, they'll have him kind of shadow a top receiver. And last year's DK Metcalf, this year, I'm guessing we're going to see them on each other a ton.
I would think so. And this year, 62 targets in zone coverage for Gonzalez. He did not allow a touchdown. That is the most of any DB in
You're saying he's
league.
Due.
I like how you just turned that around. Yeah, that is actually
like
what
when
I'm saying.
Baseball player's like 0 for 20 against this pitcher. And you're like, oh, he's due.
He's due.
Yeah.
He's due. This is great. You know what? It's wisdom like that I'm going to count on for John to give us next when we talk about the 2 things needed for a Seahawks win on Sunday after this word from our presenting sponsor.
Delta Airlines and explore new routes from Seattle to Rome and Barcelona starting May 2026. Plus, with nonstop flights to over 60 destinations worldwide, Delta is moving Seattle forward one adventure at a time.
Okay, John, it doesn't need to be difficult. What do you got?
I want to limit the Drake May explosives that we talked about, both run and pass. Don't let him beat you with the big plays. He's gonna make some plays. They'll get some yardage, but the big chunks, get rid of those. And then, I'm keeping it real simple here, but Seahawks have played 3 straight games without a turnover. And I just think when you look how complete a team this is, offense, defense, special teams, I just don't see anybody beating them if they stay out of their own way. So, take care of the football. And I think the Seahawks are just really too good right now for anybody to stop.
I'm going to add special teams to that mix, and I'm going to add some familiarity with Levi Stadium. It has been the toughest on opposing kickers this year. They have made just 62% of the field goals. Opposing kickers, that is the worst in the league by far. So I would say when you get an opportunity, just take advantage of that one. Use the fact that there's familiarity to your advantage in addition to trying to flip the field and taking care of that. Put points on the board when you have the opportunity. Yeah. I don't care if it's a touchdown. I don't care if it's a field goal, but you start that off and you make the Patriots play from behind, and you're right, the defense kind of takes over. We've drawn it up for you. Now I'm just anxious that I said that out loud.
Yeah.
I don't know what else to say after that. When we have drawn it up for you, we are going to be watching with bated breath just like you will on Sunday. And you know what? Regardless, I think we're going to break this one down afterwards.
We will do that.
Yes. So there's at least one more episode coming your way. But for right now, it's time to just say, go Hawks.